Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1929. His father and his grandfather were Baptist ministers. When he was a boy, Martin went to a school for black children only. There were certain places he and his brother and sister could not go because of their color of their skin. He wondered why. Martin grew up to become a Baptist minister like his father and grandfather. Many people listened to the powerful words of Martin Luther King Jr. He said he had a dream, and his dream helped to change the history of our country. Martin Luther King Jr. lived at a time when there was a need for change. We will see now his dream helped to bring about that change.
This month we celebrate the birthday of a great American. His name is Martin Luther King Jr.
Why was he so great?
What did he do? I've heard his name, but I don't know why he was so famous.
Which one of you can tell us something about Martin Luther King Jr.?
My grandmother lived in Montego. That's in Alabama. She told me all about him. She said that a long time ago there was a law in Alabama that black people had to sit in the back of the city buses. If a bus was crowded, they had to stand up when white people wanted their seats. Whoever heard of a law like that? Besides, what has it have to do with Martin Luther King Jr.?
James, that law was a bad one, and Martin Luther King Jr. set out to change it. It all started one day when a tired little black lady named Rosa Parks broke that unfair law.
Stop moving.
Alright, folks, let's get up. Lady, you're gonna move. Lady, if you don't give up your seat, I'll have to call the policeman.
Go ahead and call him.
Officer. Lady, if the driver asked you to stand up, why didn't you?
Do you think it's right that I should have to stand up for white folks?
I don't know, but the law is the law. I'll have to arrest you and take you down to jail for breaking the law.
This is not just a law, and we will protest it. We will not ride the city buses in Montgomery. We will walk, we will ride mules, we will drive wagons and share cars, but we will not ride a bus until the law is changed. If you will protest courageously and yet with dignity and Christian love, when the history books are written in the future, someone will have to pause and say, there lived a great people, a black people, who had the courage to stand up for their rights, and we are going to do that.
Wow, what happened?
Martin Luther King and his people did not ride the Montgomery buses for a whole year.
Did they change the law?
Yes, James, the United States Supreme Court decided that people riding on buses could not be separated or segregated because of the color of their skin.
And Martin Luther King Jr. won a victory for all the people everywhere in the United States, didn't he?
Yes, and it was the first of many victories. Boys and girls, Dr. King became the voice of black people across the land.
Is that all he did? Just make it so that people could sit on buses? My grandmother said he walked a lot.
What did he march for?
Martin Luther King was a peaceful man. He did not believe in violence. He thought marching was better than fighting. He led what were called freedom walks, or peaceful protest marches.
Is that the way he got people to pay attention and listen?
Yes, Ida, his marches brought bad laws to the attention of people everywhere, including those who made the laws.
My grandmother remembers when black people could only eat in special restaurants for black people. She couldn't go to movies where black people went.
Was it right to have one set of rules or laws for white people and another set of those with black skin? Remember the bus? Don't you think that all people should be able to sit or stand where they please?
But I still don't understand how Martin Luther King changed things.
New laws were needed to bring change, David. Martin Luther King Jr. marched and preached about the need for change and the right to equal laws and the treatment for everyone. Many important people, both black and white, heard his words. They joined the Martin Luther King movement in cities all over America.
I saw something on TV that happened a long time ago. Marchers were carrying signs, and there were so many people you couldn't see the streets or sidewalks.
Once Dr. King and his friends led 200,000 people on a march in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. It was the biggest public action by a group of people in the history of our country.
Brother, this is a peaceful freedom march. The people of our country will see us and hear our voices. They will know that we must have new laws. Laws that are the same for all people. We will march to the steps of Lincoln Memorial. That is a good place to talk about equal rights and let's go! Sing out freedom!
Even though we face difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evidence that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day the red hills of Georgia, the stones of former slaves, and the sons of former slaves owners will be able to sit down together at a table of brotherhood. I have a dream that my 4 little children one day will live in a nation where they will not be judged for the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. When we allow freedom to ring from every town and every hamlet, we will be able to speed up that day when all God's children will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritually, free at last, great God Almighty, we are free at last.
My uncle was there. He carried a sign that said, "We want to be first-class citizens." Grandma has a picture of him.
Americans knew it was time to make new laws. The next year was 1964. An act called the Civil Rights Act became a law. All people could use parks and stadiums and swimming pools. All restaurants, hotels, and movie theaters were open to everyone, black and white alike.
By then, I guess everyone knew how important Martin Luther King Jr. was. Why didn't they, Miss York?
People around the world knew about him and how he believed in peaceful ways to bring about the change. Has anyone ever heard of the Nobel Peace Prize?
I've heard of it, but I what it is.
Each year, a prize is given by some citizens of Norway for the promotion of world peace. Prize winners may come from any country in the world. It is a great honor to be named for this prize.
I'll bet King won that prize. Did he, Miss York?
Did. Martin Luther King Jr. was the second black and the youngest man ever to receive the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. He was invited to Norway. The world watched as King Olaf V of Norway and many other famous people honored Dr. King. They said that he, more than anyone else, had done the most to promote peace in the world.
It makes you feel proud, doesn't it?
Man can come over observation and violence without resorting to violence. The Nobel Peace Prize was not a personal honor. It is a tribute to the courage of millions of gallons, Negroes, and white people of goodwill. They followed the non-violent course in seeking an reign of justice and a rule of love in the United States.
Once Martin Luther King and his followers marched 54 miles from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. It was the year after the Civil Rights Act of 1964 opened public spaces to all people.
What were they marching for this time?
Dr. King wanted everyone to know that voting laws needed changing. After that march, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 had passed. It did away with tests and taxes, which had stopped many black citizens from voting.
I guess lots of people love Martin Luther King. Didn't they, Miss York?
He did have many followers, but many people did not think as he did. There were those who wanted to fight and stop from making changes in the laws.
So, you mean they wanted to hurt him?
In 1968, Martin Luther King went to Memphis, Tennessee to help the garbage workers. He and some friends were standing on the balcony at his motel. Suddenly, the echo of a shot was heard, and Martin Luther King slumped to the floor.
Somebody shot him?
Martin Luther King Jr. was killed by an assassin. A man filled with hate took the life of a man who preached love.
What a terrible thing to happen to such a good man. People around the world wept and mourned the death of Martin Luther King Jr.
He died a young man, but his spirit and accomplishments live on today. And 39 years of Martin Luther King's life, he changed America's thinking about the human rights of all people.
We